Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Friday, October 13th. It's just after 8 o'clock in the morning. My kettle is boiling. I have my coffee almost ready to go. And this morning I don't think I have big topics on my mind, but I think I have a lot of small things going on, and maybe I can talk about all these small things this morning. Of course, there's always technology on my mind, so I'll probably start there, see if I can get a rhythm going with my technology adventures and technology problems. The main thing over the last couple of days is that I wanted to clean up an issue I've been having with email. So it's a very technical story and perhaps a complicated one, but for Planet Doug in general, I wanted to have a Planet Doug email address. And what I ended up doing was creating a Planet Doug website. I mean, the website is not really a thing. It doesn't really exist. I mean, it's there, but I haven't had the time to do anything with it. I had some ideas that I wanted to put onto the website, but I haven't really had the time to do it. But I did buy the domain name, and months and months and months ago I spent some time thinking about the name of the domain I wanted to get, and the what do you call that, the top level domain, planetdoug.com or planetdoug.this, and I believe planetdoug.com was taken, or I had to pay a lot of money to get it. I can't remember, but there was an issue there. And I ended up going with planetdoug.life, which is a very unfamiliar top-level domain, .life. But you can get all kinds of different ones now. You're not restricted to .com, .org, .info, or the country-specific ones, .ca for Canada, .this, .that. You can get unusual ones, and one of the ones I came across was .life. And at the time, I thought, yeah, why not? Why don't I pick that one? It's unusual, and you can use it in different ways. Like if you could talk about the Planet Doug Life at planetdoug.life. You could do plays on words, wordplay with the life domain. Anyway, so I own the domain planetdoug.life, and then I went into the systems and I created email addresses linked to that domain. But there's a problem with that. It's not like Gmail or Microsoft or Yahoo or any of these services that, okay, someone can send an email to, for one I created is called info@planetdoug.life. That's my main name, my main email address for Planet Doug, and that's the one that I put on my new business cards. It says, you want to contact Planet Doug, you can send an email to info@planetdoug.life. So that's what I have on my name cards. But if someone sends an email to that email address, where does it go? I mean, if a friend of mine sends me a personal email to my Gmail account, well, it's everywhere. I have Gmail on every phone, every tablet, every laptop. Your Gmail account is everywhere. You have the Gmail app on your phone. But when you have an email address that goes to a website, where does it go? It sits there on the back end of your website, but you still need, I don't even know the vocabulary for this, which is why I'm struggling a little bit here to tell this story, because I don't have the technical vocabulary for any of this. But you need some kind of a program that gets those emails and shows them to you and allows you to read them and reply to them. Some sort of an email manager. And when you go into your website, at least the way my thing is set up, I end up looking at my emails on something called Roundcube. It's like webmail. But it's really hard for me to get there. I don't really know what it is, but I have to go into my hosting account, and then I've got to go into my cPanel, and then I've got to go to webmail, and then I get a list of all of my webmail email addresses, and I can finally click on one, and it opens it up in something called Roundcube, and then I get my emails. That's really hard to do, and what I wanted to do was to be able to access those emails on my phone just as easily as I do Gmail. And then I tracked down a program called Spark, a recommendation from a friend of mine who's a lot smarter than I am, a lot more technically minded, saying that in order to get these emails from your website, you need some kind of an email aggregator, an email program. And you can download apps from like the Google Play Store for an Android phone. There's a whole bunch of them apparently that collect emails from different email addresses and then show them all to you in one app. And this person recommended Spark. So I downloaded Spark, and it was a very technical procedure. I thought it was not easy at all to get Spark to communicate with my website in order to display the emails. You had to know all kinds of things like port numbers, POP3 stuff, whatever that is, server names, and you had to get all this information and input it into both and get them talking to each other. And I did get it set up, and it worked for a while, but then the whole thing crashed, the whole thing fell apart, and it wouldn't work, and I couldn't fix it. I got server error messages saying that, okay, Spark is disconnected from the servers for my email, and you need to connect them again. Then no matter what I've done recently, I'm not able to connect them. I don't know how to do it. I don't even know what the problem is. And when I dive into the tech and the vocabulary, all the error messages I get, I don't know what they're telling me. It'll tell me I need to do something, but I have no idea what they're saying and where do I go to do this thing. Anyway, I just gave up completely on Spark. Kettle is boiling, and I'm going to make my coffee. That's better. Maybe this will help me focus. So anyway, I decided to just quit using Spark, and I was going to look for an alternative. And in the modern world, I find myself writing things like this into Google way too many times because I'm looking for something, but I'm so inexperienced in that area that I don't really even know how to define what I'm looking for, right? It's like, okay, I know what I want to do, but exactly what is it that I'm trying to do? What are the words? But so anyway, I know that Spark can do this thing, and I figure there must be other programs that can do it as well. So I'm going to start all over again with a brand new one and perhaps a better one. So I'm typing into Google, this is what I'm talking about. The thing I always type into Google, the top, what are the best, and then I need a noun, right? I don't even know what to call these things. The best things for, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to aggregate emails. What is the best Android app for accessing email from a website? Like, is that what it is? I don't even know what I'm trying to do. But anyway, I type these sorts of things into Google. What are the top 10? What are the best of whatever it is I'm looking for? I mean, we all do it all the time. Like, what are the top 10 vlogging cameras? I'm going to need a new laptop at some point. So you type in, what are the best, top 10 low budget laptops that are good for video editing? You're always typing these things into Google. So I did it this time, and I got quite a long list of different things. And I knew I was on the right track because Spark, the one I'm now rejecting, Spark was one of them. So it says, you can use this and this and this and this and Spark and this and this and this. So I thought, okay, so this is going to help me. And Spark was relatively low down on the list, and there are a bunch of others recommended above it. So I started investigating these, and then I noticed that Gmail was on the list, like Google was on the list. And I'm like, well, what is Gmail doing there? That's not what I'm looking for. But it turns out that that is exactly what I'm looking for. I didn't know this. In all the research I've done, I never came across the idea that Gmail itself can also get email from other places. So I thought, you know, Gmail gets emails sent to my Gmail account, and that's the end of it. But it turns out that in Gmail, you can add other email addresses. So you can actually collect all the emails from all the email accounts you have and pull them all together in one place, and you can do that in Gmail. And I thought, well, I don't know what the pros and cons of this are. I just assumed that there had to be a problem with this, like a big problem, because it sounded too easy, like too convenient. So, okay, what's the catch? I figured there had to be a catch, but the only way I'm going to discover what the catch is by trying to implement it. So I thought, okay, let's do Gmail. I have so much tech in my life, I don't need more. I already have Gmail. Let's see if this will work. And then I only have to check one email account every day. I won't have to check Google, Gmail, and Spark or some equivalent. You know, I don't have to check both. Let's do that. So then, of course, I'm doing all the usual searches for guides and instructions and help. And oddly enough, these days, quite often a YouTube video is the best way. Like if I go to the official Google Gmail support documents, I'll go down rabbit holes there and I won't understand anything they're talking about. I just need somebody to lay it out for me, step by step. What do you do? And quite often a YouTube video is the best place to go. So I went into YouTube and I found some videos very poorly done, you know, not done by professionals with lots of problems, but they had the advantage of just laying it out for me and says, okay, this is what you do. Click on settings, go here, go there, open this menu, scroll down, and you will see something that says add email account. And then it went step by step through the process of how to do it. So that's what I did. And it turns out it's a two-stage process. The guy whose videos I used, he went through a whole long technical tutorial, but then I noticed in the comments somebody says, you left out 50% of the process. You told us this half, but you left out this half. And then this guy, I guess he read those comments and then he kind of went, oh yeah, actually I did. And then he posted a second video, part 2. And then I watched part 2 as well. And in part 2, he did say at the very beginning of the video, oh yeah, I posted this first video about how to do this, but I left out the second part. So here's the second part. And then because the two stages are, you can add an email account to Gmail so that all the emails that get sent to that account also get transferred to here. And then you can label it so that you can see, okay, these emails are coming from Gmail, and now these ones, even though they're in Gmail, are coming from Planet Doug. And you put a label on them and it sorts them. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then if someone sends an email to Planet Doug and I reply to that email, I want my reply to be coming from Planet Doug. I don't want it coming from my personal Gmail account. And that's the second half or the first half, depending on what order you put them in. So you can actually set things up in Gmail that when you write an email, now I can click on a box that gives me a drop-down list of how I'd look when I'm replying. So I can reply as Doug Nienhuis from my Gmail account, or I can reply from Planet Doug, and then I can choose which persona, which alias basically I want to reply as. So that's one half, and the other half is setting up the technical transfer of the emails. And so far, it's confusing for me but I figured it out, and I've been testing it, and I think it's working. But you had to know a few things, and it did get very confusing, even following the tutorials, because the things the guy said in his tutorial were not actually accurate anymore, because things change. You know, this always happens. The tutorial will say, go to this page, look in the top left, click on settings. You know, you go to that page and settings are not there. Or you click on settings and it says, okay, go to this tab of the menu. You look at your menu and that tab doesn't exist. I mean, that's just standard, right? But anyway, I fought through all of that and I found the settings. But then you need things, of course, like it said, there's a blank and said, what is your incoming server? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, do I have a server? I didn't even know I had a server, but it wants to know your incoming server. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. How do I even find out? And then you need your EMAP port, and you need your POP3 port. And when you start the process in Gmail, it fills in these blanks for you. Like there's already, like it says POP3, and I think it said 110. And I thought, well, Google must know that that is my POP3 port, whatever a POP3 port is, 110. It filled it in for me. That's the default. So I thought, okay, that must be the one, right? But when I finished all of this, finished the whole thing, it wasn't working. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And then I have to go back into each one of these and see what the problem is. And then I did a whole bunch of research, a whole bunch of articles, and they says, well, you know, if this doesn't work, try this. If this doesn't work, try this. And I eventually landed on my POP3 port. I guess this is common for POP3. The port you're supposed to use is 995. Why? I don't know. I don't even know what these things are. But I put in 995. And I also had to put in my outgoing server. So I had a incoming server and an outgoing server. I had to find out what my servers were for that. And an SMTP port, whatever that is. And then basically I put in, 995 for my POP3 port. Turns out that's what I was supposed to do. I found out what my servers were. I put those in. And miracle of miracles, it seemed to work. So I would go into my Microsoft email, my personal email there, send an email to me at info@planetdoug.life, and it will show up in Roundcube on my website, but it will also show up on Gmail, and it's coming from Planet Doug. Like it's even though it's in Gmail, I can see it was meant for Planet Doug, and then when I reply to myself, I can choose to reply as, you know, Gmail Doug Nienhuis or as my Planet Doug email address. And as far as I can tell, everything kind of works. So that was one of my big technical adventures recently, and we'll see how long this one lasts. Yeah, Spark didn't last very well. It lasted a while, and then it fell apart for some reason, and I don't know why. Well, I like this system better. It's more keeping everything in one place. So that was one Planet Doug tech adventure. Something else broke in my life, and that's no big surprise. Bit of a mystery. I'm using for these videos, I have an Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II. That's the camera I'm using right now. Amazing camera, and this was a gift to me from a Planet Doug subscriber. Again, thank you very much. Yeah, it's an amazing camera. I love it. But the other day, I was cleaning up my room here. I was sweeping, and I don't know, does this happen to other people? It happens to me all the time, and it's part of modern life, I've realized. you really should sweep your hotel rooms. Like, sweep them up, because I will sweep up the floor here, and this has happened to me several times, and then you get to the very end, and I don't have a dustpan or everything or anything like that, so I'll take like a brochure or a piece of paper, put it on the floor, and then you sweep everything onto that piece of paper, and then you look at what you've swept up, and there will be little bits and pieces of technology in your debris pile. Like, I'll often find a little screw. Like, I sweep the floor, and then there's like a little screw down there, and I'm like, oh, where'd that come from? Like, it could have been in this room forever, like, or it could have fallen off of one of my devices, right? So whatever I find in that pile of debris, I usually set it aside. I put it in a little bag, and I carry it around with me, because someday I'm going to be working on a GoPro, and I'm putting it on some kind of a grip, and it's not working, and I try to find out why. It's like, oh, a little screw fell out. And I'm like, ah. And I remember finding that little screw when I swept up the floor. So I get my little bag out, and I was like, oh yeah, put the screw back in. And this time I did it, I swept up the floor, and I found this plastic tab. It's shaped like a slice of pizza, a little piece of black plastic. And I thought, what the heck is that? Where did that come from? And then when I was setting up my Olympus to shoot one of these behind the scenes videos, I noticed that the battery door was missing its locking lever. The battery door was closed, locking the battery inside the camera, but I couldn't open it. It's like, what the? There was no switch. The little lever to unlock the battery door was gone. And I thought, that little pizza slice, that's what that is. And that's what it is. It fell off the Olympus for some reason. And without it, I can't open the door. It's like a recessed little knob inside, and then this plastic piece fits over that plastic piece, and then you can open it, and then it moves a lever on the inside, and the battery compartment door opens. So I need this thing, otherwise I can't open and close the battery door, but it won't stay in place. So now what I do is, I put it on the tip of my finger and push it in, and then I can move it, then it pops open the battery door, but then in order to close it again, I have to reuse this thing. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to Planet Doug MacGyver this back into place. Like, there's no way to use super glue, or I can't tell what's broken. I think there's like these little teeth on it, and I think the teeth, one of them snapped off. Yeah, I don't know what to do. But anyway, until I figure out a solution to this, now I have to keep track of this thing, and I have to use it every time I open the battery door on my Olympus, which is kind of funny. But yeah, always sweep the floor. Then when you do sweep the floor, sort through all the dust and the dust bunnies, because you'll find little screws, little levers, little tabs, all kinds of things that just fall off your gear. And eventually you're going to need that little piece. So yeah, keep them. That was kind of funny. I've had trouble with the power in this room too. That's another technology adventure, where occasionally the power would just go out, and then I would sit here in the dark. And it's a problem for my laptop, because the battery doesn't last on my laptop. So if the power goes out, pew, my laptop shuts down. So if I'm in the middle of editing a video or uploading a video, all of that shuts down because there's no power. And then I'll be assuming it's a power failure for the neighborhood. There's been a lot of heavy rains and flooding and things like that in Malaysia, and the power has gone out, for the whole area. And then the power comes back on, and I can go back to work. But then occasionally the power wouldn't come back on. It's just like time would pass, more and more time. I'm waiting, and there's still no power. I go out into the lobby. Everybody else has power, and it turns out it was just my room. And then I got into one of these ongoing things. Happens a lot in life, where someone came in to check, obviously, and there's a big fuse box above the door, and they go up to the fuse box and they wiggle something, do something, and the power comes back on, and okay, fixed, power's back. But of course, if all you're doing is wiggling the fuse box, chances are it's going to happen again. And of course, later on, boom, the power went out again. And this time I didn't wait to see whether this was a, citywide power failure right away. I just went outside and said, oh, the entire hotel still has power. It's only me being affected. But now I know about the wiggling, right? So I come back here and I go up to the fuse box and I kind of wiggle. There's like this big master fuse and all these smaller fuses. And the master fuse is the one you have to wiggle. And then I kept wiggling it, and you kind of get power, and then you let go of it, and the power goes out again, and you just kind of keep playing around with it until the power comes back. So that's been going on for a while. And then it happened one time, and then no matter how much you wiggled it, the power wouldn't come back. And then they were going to get the maintenance guy to take a look at it. They took a picture of the fuse, with their phone, the hotel staff here at the seafront. Very, very helpful, great people. And they took a picture of the fuse box to send it out to someone, we need to replace this or do this. But in the meantime, the guy who took the picture, he wiggled it and turned it off and on. It's a big switch, and oh, the power came back. So it was like, oh, okay, you have power now, that's good. But, we'll get the maintenance guy and he'll come and replace it. But then the maintenance guy never came. And a few days went by, everything was fine, and then the power went out again. And it was just my room, and then this time I was wiggling and wiggling, off, on, wiggling. It wouldn't come back. The seafront staff came in, and they wiggled and the power couldn't come in. And then they kind of said, oh, but I thought we replaced it. He says, well, that was supposed to happen, but it never actually happened. Nobody came to replace it. And then they says, oh, okay, and this was like on a late at night, actually. And there was the maintenance guy, is not here full time. He was off duty, but they says, yeah, well, we better take care of this. So I guess they got on the phone, contacted the guy, and then at night, a maintenance guy finally, he showed up, and he's got his lights and all his tools, and he's got a replacement thing, and he pulled out the old one, put in the new one, and he showed it to me, and he said, yeah, the back side of it, the contacts are all burned out. And then it's sort of like when you wiggle it, you kind of scrape it, and maybe you scrape away the burnt parts and you get a connection a little while. But anyway, they replaced it, and now we have constant power on Planet Doug, which is very nice to have because, I need it. Air conditioning is so essential here. It gets really hot, and of course, all of my electronics are very thirsty when it comes to power. They need a lot of power to run this world that I live in. So that was another technology adventure that I fought through. The world of MacBooks and iOS and Apple systems still confuse the heck out of me. That's an ongoing struggle for me. One thing I'd like to be able to do, and I should be able to do it, is transfer pictures from my phone to my laptop using Bluetooth, right? I've done that my whole life. You got Bluetooth here, Bluetooth there, you pair them, and then you can open up a photo and say, share via Bluetooth. You pick MacBook Pro, sends the picture to, because I'm talking about something in a Planet Doug video, I want to include a photo that I took on my phone, or take a photo here in my room and put it into the video. And then I just, instead of, I usually do it manually because this Bluetooth system won't work. I normally do it manually, where I plug in a flash drive with an adapter, and then I copy it to the flash drive, and then I plug the flash drive into the MacBook, and then I physically copy the photo. But it's just a long, annoying process to do that. So I keep trying to get this Bluetooth share to work, and it just won't. The process will start, the pairing is fine, the Bluetooth connection is fine, it says share the photo, and I get little messages from time to time where I have to confirm the pairing over and over. And then I do that and it says, okay, sending file, and I get the little wheel or the little arrow or the whatever it is, the symbol that tells you it's working. I get it on my phone and I get it on the laptop, and I'm waiting for the transfer to finish, and then I just get an error message that says sending failed. And I don't know why. I've gone down the rabbit holes, done all the research, done all the work, watched all the tutorials. You go online, you get the article that tells you, you know, if Bluetooth transfer doesn't work, check these 10 things. None of those 10 things apply to my situation. Anyway, I do all of them anyway. You got to clear this, you got to do this, restart this, reboot this, repair them, do it all over again. Never works. So I can never do the Bluetooth sharing. I'd like to figure that out. Someday in the future, it will one day start to work, and I won't know why. And another thing that puzzles me, I really would need to sit down with a MacBook expert, I think, is quite often I don't know where things are. Like on my old Windows laptops, I'm a big Shift Tab user, because you might have 10 different windows open, 10 different things in operation, and then to switch quickly from one to the other, you do Shift Tab. And whatever's open on your computer, you go from one to the other, and then, oh, where I want to go to my file manager. Oh, file manager, back to Google. Oh, back to the editing program. Shift Tab, and you cycle through all the programs. On the MacBook, two things happen. It's not Shift Tab, it's Command Tab, right? Command Tab, and then it opens up a bar filled with all the icons of all the programs that are open, and then you can cycle through them, just like you can on a Windows computer. But on MacBooks, it opens up this bar with all the icons, but it shows me a whole bunch of icons, and yet those programs aren't open, right? So I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I had whatever it is, DaVinci Resolve. I didn't even know it was open. So I go Command Tab Tab to go over to DaVinci Resolve, and I stop on it and let go, and then nothing happens because DaVinci Resolve isn't actually open, but it actually shows it as an available tab in my system. And this happens with lots of different programs. Let's see if I can do it right now. I know what's open on my computer. Yeah, it tells me that Apple Music is open. I've got a tab for Apple Music, for Google Chrome, and for the Finder, and I can cycle from one to the other. I go to Google Chrome, okay, I'm on Chrome. I go to Finder, I'm on Finder. I go to Apple Music, and there's nothing there. It's not actually open, but it shows up in the tab of options. That's one issue I have, and I don't know why that happens. It confuses me all the time. But the more troublesome thing is quite often there will be things open, but it won't show up. I can't get to it. I know the window is open, but I don't know where the window is, no matter what I do, because there's this very complicated procedure with MacBooks where I don't even know how to describe it, where you can swipe your touchpad or move the mouse to different corners of the screen, and it opens up different views, like desktop views of windows and things that are everywhere. And I've never been able to figure out how that system works. But even when I go to all of those, the window that's open will never show up. And I know the window is open because it will be playing music. Like, this is just so crazy. It drives me nuts. Where I'm looking for a music track to put into a YouTube video that I'm editing. So I open up Finder and I go to the folder where I keep all the music that I've been using lately. And then I want to pick one of the tracks. So I double click on one of them, it starts to play, I listen to the music, do I want, oh, that's not right. I go down to the next one, double click, no, what about this one? And I'm listening to the music and I'm trying to pick one to put into my video. And then I finally get to one, oh yeah, I kind of like that one. And then I want to stop it from playing because I'm done. Now I can copy the file into my editing program, insert the music, and now I have it. But the music is playing over the speakers on my Mac, and I can't turn it off. I don't know where it is. I don't know what's playing the music. And of course, I know all about default programs. You can go into the MacBook preferences and all the settings, and you can find out what all of your default things are. That if you just double click on a song, what program is the default program for playing that music. I know what it is. It's there in the defaults, but that program isn't playing the music. And then you can do the Command Tab thing, you know, Command Tab, 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 looking for all the open windows, but there's nothing there that's playing the music. You can do the triple swipe and the double swipe and put your thumb and your 6 other fingers on the touchpad and whirl them in a circle, you know, whatever the secret code is on a MacBook to open up all the desktops and all the windows. I do all of those things. I don't know, I can't find it. The song is playing, the music is coming over the speakers, it's annoying, I want it to stop, but I can't turn it off. I have to let the song play all the way to the end because I cannot find the window. I can't open the window of whatever program is playing the song. It's just not there. It's not visible. It's somehow in the background, and I minimize everything. Like I go through all the windows that are open on my laptop. I minimize them all one by one by one, so they all go down to the bar at the bottom, and there's nothing open at all. I'm just staring at the desktop, and there's still nothing there. So it remains a mystery, you know what I mean? And just for fun, I thought I'd show a couple of these things that I'm talking about. Here, for example, I'm on my MacBook, obviously, and this is the behind-the-scenes video that you're watching right now. I haven't exported it yet, but if I do the Command Tab system, you'll see that it opens up a bar, and right now I only have 2 things open. I have DaVinci Resolve and I have Finder. Those are the only 2 programs open. But when I open Command Tab, you'll see it also shows like iTunes or Apple Music, whatever it's called. So right here, I've got Finder, so I can go to Finder. I can go to DaVinci Resolve, and there's also Music. And when I go to Music, nothing happens. So it shows that it's open, but if it is open, I can't find it. And you can do this 3-finger swipe on the trackpad, and it opens up this view on, I have no idea what this is. You end up with 2 desktops. I don't know why you have multiple desktops. I've never been able to understand that. But anyway, this is my desktop, and it shows DaVinci Resolve is open, Finder is open, and then down here, it does say Music is open. It's got that little black dot on it, but where is it? If it's open, I don't know where it is. And if I go to desktop number 2, here, for some reason, I actually see my desktop because I put all my screenshots that I take, they go to the desktop. So that's the desktop, but there's no windows here. But if I go to desktop 1, so now I'm on desktop 1, and it shows all my open programs, but I don't actually see my desktop. So I don't understand that either. But anyway, let's go to Finder. And now this is the music from the YouTube library. And if I click on any of these, they will start to play. And the default program is Apple Music. So this one, Dancing Star, let's double click on it. So now the music is playing, you can hear it, but where is it? Now I want to turn it off, but I can't turn it off because Apple Music won't open and there's nothing else. Like, nowhere can I go. I don't know where the song is. Here it is. So yeah, I mean, it's clearly playing, but there's nothing I can do to turn it off. I can't find it no matter where I go. So I basically just have to let it keep playing until the song ends. Which, I mean, that's par for the course on Planet Doug. That's just how things are. The mystery music player, this one I'll just never be able to fix. I don't know what's going on here, and I just I mute the music. Once I've chosen a song, I mute my computer, and then I go back and insert the song, but I just let it play while it's muted and wait until it's over. And since I'm on the topic, I thought I'd get another problem I have with the Finder off my chest, and maybe someone knows how to fix this problem. And this problem is that I cannot save default settings for the Finder. No matter what I do, none of them actually get saved. So in this case, I just opened up the contents of a flash drive, and you can see it has a folder and a folder, then a bunch of JPEGs, then a couple of folders, then PDFs, then JPEGs, and then way down at the bottom, another folder. And I find this really hard to work with, so what I want to do is group them by kind, so that the folders are separated from the JPEGs and they're separated from the PDFs. So I go up here, and it says none, right? Sort or group by nothing, and I choose kind, and now I've got it nicely organized. Folders, images, and then I believe PDFs after that. And that's what I want every single time. And I believe I can go, how does this work? I can go into Actions, Show View Options, and there is Use as Defaults. But as you can see, it's grayed out. I can't save this as defaults. What I have to do is make a change, and then I can select it. So we can just pick something at random to make a change. Maybe we can show in another column tags. No, I don't even know what that is. Date added, that could be useful. So let's add that. So now these are my settings. Group by kind, sort by name, text size, and all of this. Okay, now use this as defaults. Everything should be fine, right? So let's close this and close the Finder. And here again, I want to go back to my Finder to test to see whether the defaults have taken effect. And if I hit Command-Tab, it says DaVinci Resolve is open. It says Music is open, which it isn't. It also says Finder is open, which it isn't. So the only visible window is DaVinci Resolve, and yet it shows me 3 of them. And I end up having to cycle through these and find out each time, oh, so I have to go down to whatever this bar is called and open the Finder from here. And now if I open up Transfer, you can see it's all back to the beginning again. It has not saved the default for my viewing. It's gone back to this jumbled view. So every single time I open a flash drive, open a folder, anywhere, every single time I have to go to Group, select Kind, and now I'm back to how I want it. And no matter how many times I save this view as my default, it never takes effect. And I find that happens across MacBooks, or this MacBook in general. None of my defaults ever get saved, and it makes life a little bit slower, a little bit less efficient. So there you have it. another thing that's been weighing on my mind, one of my technology problems. And after that avalanche of technology negativity, I have one positive story, and this one is really funny because in a previous behind-the-scenes video, maybe the last one or the second to last one that I just shot, I was talking about how the YouTube Studio app for your smartphone, as I explained in that video, this is the YouTube app that you use to manage all of your YouTube videos. You can't upload a video in that app. It's like the one thing you can't do. You can do everything else. You know, you can change the thumbnail, the video description, the video title. It's basically where you're supposed to go, the studio app, the official program for you as a YouTuber to manage your YouTube channel. And yet, this program, the one thing it can't do is upload a video. There's no upload button. And this has been that way for years and years and years, ever since the studio app was released to much fanfare. One of the first things I noticed when I opened the program is like, oh, I really like this. This is a good idea. So now I've finished a video. Now I want to upload the video to my channel. And I'm like, how do I upload a video? There was no mechanism to upload a video. So it allows you to, you know, work on the video, work on the thumbnail, work on the description, the this, the that. You can do everything. But you can't do any of those things until you upload the video. That's the most important thing that you need to do as a YouTuber, is make a video and upload it. And that's the one thing the YouTube program can't do. It's just, you know, I lay awake at night wondering how these things happen. You know, what kind of a crazy world am I living in? So I was telling that story, and then the very next day after telling that story, I opened up the YouTube studio on my phone, and they had just added an upload button. And I got a little message. I'll put I took a screenshot, I'll put it on the screen. And at the top, you'll see that little blue box, I think it's blue, that says, you know, new feature. You can now upload videos from the studio app. So the day after I posted a video ranting about this, YouTube fixed it. So I have power, apparently. Obviously not. A fix like that would have taken, you know, a long time to do. It was just a coincidence that they fixed it the day after I complained about it. But I thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, now there is an upload button. Yeah. So it just takes them a long time to get these things done, but they do them eventually. But I will keep ranting about them anyway. Don't worry about that. And speaking of technology and gadgets and camera gear and all that kind of trivia, it's kind of a nice segue into another topic, because I stumbled across a new YouTube vlogger, and I stumbled across him because his most recent videos are all set in Indonesia. He has kind of an interesting story. I'm going to talk about this guy not because I'm saying, wow, you got to go check out all his videos, or that this is, like when I talk about a YouTuber, it's not because I'm saying, wow, I love this YouTube channel and I love all these videos and you should go watch his videos. I'm only bringing them up because they fit into my own whatever trivia I'm thinking about at the time, and then his videos kind of fit in with all the things I've been thinking about. I like looking at YouTubers from the point of view of them as YouTubers compared to me, not necessarily in terms of the products they're making, like not really about their videos, but more about them as people, how they make their videos, what camera gear they use, the editing style, the choices they make. I just like to see what other people are doing as a contrast to what I'm doing. And that's kind of the approach I generally take when I talk about them. So anyway, so this guy, his channel is called Unseen Voices. And I don't know a lot about him yet. I haven't done a deep dive into his channel. I've been focusing on his Indonesia videos. And it turns out his Indonesia videos are brand new to him, because apparently he's from Greece. I can't remember his name right now. Unseen Voices is the name of the channel. More about that in a second. But I guess he's been traveling for 4 years, and his idea was to make documentaries about places and people around the world that, according to him, the mainstream media overlooks. So he's not doing personal travel vlogs in the normal sense. He set out to make his own documentaries. and then he would go to places that he thought were not reported in the media. And that's what he's been doing for 4 years. And his whole unseen voices kind of made me smile again, with a background in English editing. I'm very aware of word choice, and of course unseen voices doesn't make any sense. Right? I have to cut him some slack because he's from Greece, so English is not his first language, and he speaks English very, very well, so no issues there at all. But of course, you can't see a voice anyway. So unseen voices, all voices are unseen. What he really meant was unheard voices, right? That these are people who are ignored by the mainstream media. Their voices are unheard. Their voices are being ignored. But I guess in his mind, he got them confused, you know, unseen and voices, and he put them together and called his channel, you know, Unseen Voices. But of course it makes no sense at all. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure if he's aware of that, you know, that it's not logical, that all voices are unseen, you know, not just these ones. You can't actually see a voice. You can hear them, so their voices are unheard, but they're not actually unseen. But anyway, he's been doing that for 4 years. And then when he hit Indonesia, he kind of traveled around Indonesia for 10 days, like Java. I guess he has a couple of documentaries he wants to shoot in Indonesia. There must have been one on Java, but I don't know what that one is. And then now he's on his way to the Mentawai Islands. Yeah, Mentawai? I'm having trouble remembering the pronunciation. But it's a thing that people do when they go out to these islands off the coast of Padang. You go there either to go surfing or to do one of these live with the tribal people experiences. You can book them online, and then you take the boat out to the island, and then they take you to a tribal village, and then you live amongst the tribal people in these villages, the Mentawai people. And he wanted to do a documentary about that experience. But as he was doing this, working, he thought, well, why don't I make videos about the in-between times? So when he got to Indonesia, he decided to start shooting travel vlogs, like a normal, you know, just grab your GoPro or your iPhone, whatever, and then just, oh, here's my hotel room, and let's go exploring in the market, and this is what I'm having for lunch. You know, typical travel vlog, but he'd never done that before. So these are sort of brand new to him. He just started doing them. And I mentioned that he connects to technology because in one of his videos, he decided to go shopping for his documentary in the Mentawai Islands. He decided to get a drone. So that got my interest. I watched that whole video, and he went and he bought a drone, a DJI Mini 2, I think, and he bought it. And they had no issues with that. He knew where to go. He found a store. Although he had some trouble finding the store, but he found it. He bought the drone. But then he needed something, he said, for a GoPro. At the time, I thought he was going to buy a GoPro, but it turns out he already has a GoPro. I think he's been shooting all of his videos with his iPhone. That's his main video tool, an iPhone. But then he also had a GoPro Hero 9, as it turned out, but he didn't have a way to hold on to it or something. And he said in his video he needs to go shopping for GoPro accessories. So obviously I was very excited about that. I wanted to see where he would go, the GoPro store, you know, what kind of accessories he was looking for. And then when I found out what he was looking for, I just had to smile and laugh because I knew he had zero chance of finding it. No way. Yeah, because I've done a lot of that. I've been out there endlessly walking around places like Kuala Lumpur, going from camera store to camera store, camera store. Just like this guy, just like Unseen Voices, you know, I've got a photo of it, You know, I'll find it on the internet, save it as a screenshot, whatever this gadget is, an adapter, a special type of thumb screw, some little gizmo that I need for my GoPro, and I'll have a photo of it, and then the entire day I'll just go from store to store to store. This is in Kuala Lumpur, you know, a major shopping city, and then I go to all these stores. Do you know, anybody have this or this? So hard to find these things. You can't find them anywhere. So when I saw what he was trying to find, and in his mind, I think he just thought it would be the easiest thing in the world, you know. Basically, he had a GoPro and he had a tripod, but this is the GoPro Hero 9, and there's no tripod mount on a GoPro. So you can't attach them together. So he needs an adapter that he can put onto the tripod that has the GoPro finger mount. So now he can put his GoPro on his tripod. And I knew exactly what he was looking for. He had a picture of it on his phone. And in his mind, I think it sounded like, yeah, I'm just gonna pop into this camera store, pick up one of these little adapters. You know, I gotta, you know, go to a GoPro store, pick up a GoPro accessory, should be done in a couple of minutes. And I'm like smiling. He's like, buddy, you have no idea what you're in for. You will never find this thing. There may be one of them in all of Indonesia, maybe in some store in a hidden back alley somewhere, but you are not going to find this thing. You can order it online, I'm sure, have it shipped to you. That's how the modern world works. But you're not going to find it in a store. And he didn't. He did not find it. And yeah, it's kind of funny watching his videos, because as different as he is from me, very, very different person, his video was very similar to my own experiences. I talk a lot about how I really enjoy behind the scenes stuff. Like YouTubers make everything look so easy. They show the dramatic waterfall that they're doing backflips in front of this waterfall, but I'm always thinking, well, how did they get to the waterfall? You know, how did they arrange transportation to get there? You know, all these, you know, logistical details. That's what I find more interesting. And in this guy's first personal travel vlogs, he went the Planet Doug route, and he recorded the entire day from beginning to end. He didn't mess around. So the videos are an hour long, and I really enjoy them, oddly enough. Even though I find him very different from me, I still enjoyed them because I could relate so much to everything he was doing. Like he wakes up in the morning and he's got his, you know, he's talking into his iPhone, and yeah, today I gotta go pick up a GoPro accessory. Call the Grab, you know, the Grab is going to be here any minute, and we're going to go and I'm going to buy this thing. And then the whole day unfolds exactly how a Planet Doug day would unfold, where, you know, he goes outside and there's no Grab driver, right? Like, where is the Grab driver? And he's walking up and down the street, can't find his driver can't find him. Apparently the driver is calling him on his phone. He can't speak Indonesian. He's trying to tell the driver where he is, and then he has to find an Indonesian who speaks English, give him the phone, like, can you talk to the Grab driver and explain where I am? And ends up being this huge ongoing mess, you know, just to connect with the Grab driver. And I'm like, yes, exactly, that's what life is like. And then he goes to this, you know, huge shopping complex. And then he goes up to the first people he sees in the store, you know. He has this odd mannerism of thinking that everybody will know everything automatically. Like, he would go into this shopping mall to find this GoPro accessory in this GoPro camera store, but for some reason, instead of going to that store, he'll just walk right into the mall, and the very first person he sees, he just walks up to them, puts his phone in front of their face with a picture of this gadget. Do you know where I can get this? Do you know what this is? Do you know where I can, you know? You see in shopping malls in Asia, like near the entrances quite often, there's just like a little hut almost, like a little stall filled with you know, smartphone holders, charging cables, adapters, like just a grab bag collection of really cheap electronic gizmos. Nothing to do with cameras, nothing to do with GoPros. And I wouldn't go up to one of those. I wouldn't expect her to know anything about GoPros, and certainly not an obscure adapter like this. But he just walks into the mall and says, "You know where I can get this? Any idea?" And the woman just, you know, just takes one look and was like, "No." And he just goes up to some other random person like, "Do you know where I can get this? Do you know where I can get this?" And anyway, he finally finds the camera store, and as I expected, they look at it and go, "Yeah, no, we don't have that. No, we don't even know what that is. We certainly don't have it. We can't order it. You know, sorry, no, no, no." He's getting a lot of But he finally gets to one store, and they pull out one of those accessory kits. You see them sometimes. It's like a suitcase, and it, you know, the label on it will be 150 action camera or GoPro accessories, and you can buy this kit for like $20. You open up the suitcase and it's just like filled with every kind of grip, mount, harness, all very, very cheap, you know, third-party products. They're not GoPro products. And inside this vast collection of 150 items, he gets they have one of the things he's looking for, but the only way he can get it is to buy the whole kit. And he's looking at that, and he says to the guy, "Oh, I don't need all that stuff. I just want this. Like, this is all I want. I'll buy this. You know, I'll pay you just for this. I don't want the rest of that stuff. Can I do that?" And of course they say, "Well, no, you have to buy the whole thing." And I'm shouting at the video while I'm watching it. I'm shouting at my phone, shouting at him, "Buy the kit. Trust me. You're not going to find that thing. This is your one and only chance. If you need this thing, buy the kit. Costs $20. Spend the money. Buy the whole thing. Take it back to your hotel room. You know, rummage through it. Take out that one thing you need. And there's going to be 2 or 3 other little items in there you'll want. Pick out those 3 items. Give the rest away. Leave it behind in the hotel room. But trust me, buddy, buy this kit. Give up. You're not going to find this thing anywhere else." I'm like, "Buy the kit. Break out the $20. It's not expensive. Just buy it. You'll be," you know, but he still thinks he can find this thing somewhere, right? So he says, no, I don't want the whole thing. And he walks out. And by the end of the day, he went to so many stores, and no, he never found it anywhere. And I guess he just gave up at that point. And I was thinking, again, you know, man, I wish I was there. You know, if I were on the street and I ran into this guy, because I'm nothing if not a walking GoPro store. You know, whatever you're looking for, I got it, and I've got 2 of them. So here it is. This is the gadget he was looking for. You know, you can't see it from there, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's got a little tripod thread on the bottom. You screw this onto your tripod, and then it's got GoPro fingers on the top. And I have 2 of them. Of course I have 2 of them. In fact, I had 4 of them because I've been in his situation so many times, even when I was in Kuala Lumpur, where there'd be one little GoPro thingamabob that I wanted. Couldn't find it anywhere, but it would be included in some kind of an official or unofficial GoPro accessory kit. So the only way I could buy something that I was looking for would be to buy the whole package. So I would buy the whole package to get that one thing, but then I would end up with duplicates of other things, and I ended up with 4 of these things. So I was thinking, that poor guy, all of Indonesia, he probably can't find one of them, but here I am, you know, at one point in my life I had 4 of them, and I keep giving them away because I'll talk to other people that are doing GoPro stuff, and then, yeah, I was in, the last time, I guess I was in Mesot, and I had an extra GoPro, like a complete GoPro that I wasn't even using, and then I gave it to a friend of mine for his son who wanted to get into shooting YouTube videos. And then, as you know, I gave him the GoPro, but then I also gave him a complete GoPro accessory kit because I rummage through all of my gear and I find all the duplicates. So, oh, I've got 2 of these and I got 2 of those and 3 of those, and so I put together a kit. And so I've given away a number of these, that I've passed on to other people. So I still have 2 of them, and I only need 1 of them, so I could easily, had I met Unseen Voices, I can set you up, buddy. Here you are. But yeah, I knew he wasn't going to be able to find one. Not a chance. I would have been amazed if he could, but he wasn't able to track one down. So that story I thought was kind of funny. As I said, I haven't watched his older videos when he was doing more of the documentaries. I haven't watched any of the documentaries from Unseen Voices. I've just been watching his Indonesia videos. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And in the last one, I think he was on his way to Padang, where I was hanging out in Sumatra. So he's going to fly, took a bus to Jakarta, and then he was going to fly to Padang. And then I think the last I saw him, he was in Padang, and then he was going to take the boat out to the Mentawai Islands and do the whole living with the tribal people documentary sort of thing. Which, so that's what's interests me about him. Like I said, I haven't watched much of the older videos, but looking at them, it's kind of interesting from a YouTube point of view. As I said, like a sort of a behind the scenes peek, because his older videos in terms of view count are not really that popular, and yet you'd think that they would be. I mean, some of them here, 3,000 views, 2,000, 1.5 thousand, and these videos have titles like Inside the Witch Camps of Northern Ghana, and then in brackets, Beyond Comprehension. So I mean, this is like clickbait to 100% or 1,000%, and yet that video only has 1.5 thousand views. And he talks in his videos about how hard he works on these. Like, these are his main interest, these documentaries about unseen voices around the world. So I was wondering whether he was kind of disappointed in what's happening. He's been doing this for 4 years, and he has a video here called White Man Visits Remote African Tribe, and then on the thumbnail it says First White Man. So I guess he's saying that he's the first white man that these people have ever seen, which I highly doubt, of course. I was thinking I wouldn't mind leaving a comment on his video saying that, well, maybe in the 16th century, that might have been true, but in modern times, everyone has been everywhere. So yeah, it's just kind of an unusual thing to say, that they're the first white man these people have ever seen. I highly doubt it. But anyway, but yeah, that video, hanging out with a remote African tribe, but only 1,000 views, So I was wondering how he felt about that. Here's one called Inside Pakistan's Deadliest Floods. Inside Pakistan's Deadliest Floods. It's like, wow, got to watch that video. But it only has 500 views, which seems kind of odd. But now here he is in Indonesia, and he just took a bus, right? All he did was take a bus to Jakarta, and that video has 140,000 views. So yeah, I wonder what he's thinking. I'd like to talk to him and say, well, I mean, you went all the way to Africa, all the way to northern Ghana, and you're, in your mind, you're going to such a remote area that they've never even seen a European before, which again, I highly doubt. But anyway, that's what he says in the video. And then that video gets 1,000 views. And then you go to Indonesia, and all you do is take a bus, like a luxury bus, he calls it, takes a bus to Jakarta, and that video is so popular, it gets 140,000 views and, 100 comments telling him how amazing and how wonderful his video is. So I wonder whether his life is going to change now that he's discovered this personal travel vlogging niche. It seems to be working for him. His most recent one is called Media Won't Show You This Side of Indonesia. and it has 55,000 views. Of course, I had to smile at that video as well, because I saw the title, "Media Won't Show You This Side of Indonesia," and I'm thinking, whoa, like, why? What are they hiding? What is so, shameful that the media won't even show you this about Indonesia? But I watched the whole video, and he had a bowl of noodles with some local Grab drivers. He was needed to get a Grab driver, and a bunch of them are hanging out at a place, and he had a bowl of noodles on the street, and he was chatting with these guys while they're eating their noodles. I can't help but think, well, why wouldn't the media show you, people having a bowl of noodles at a local restaurant? That didn't seem like. But I guess he has it. He's thinking in terms of the majority of media or YouTube videos will show you the amazing tourist attractions. They go to Bali, the beautiful places of Bali, the beautiful beaches, the nice 4-star resorts. And he's showing the day-to-day normal life on the street. And I guess that's what he means, that this is just, normal daily life. This is not a tourist attraction. So that's his approach to the whole thing. But I am looking forward to seeing what he comes up with when he goes to the Mentawai Islands. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I was thinking about that too, because as he's talking about his trip, and in his mind, he is going to a remote area, unseen voices, to do something that nobody else does, and yet he booked it online, which is kind of interesting, that you're talking about something that nobody else does, and you're going somewhere where nobody goes, and yet this is an experience that everybody does. He actually booked it online. You can go onto Google right now. You can look for trips to the Mentawai Islands that offer the experience of staying with a tribal group in a village, and then you can just look at their packages. 3 days, 4 nights, or whatever it is. How does that usually go? 3 nights, 4 days, or 5 nights, or 1 week, and then you pick how much you want to pay, and it includes, the boat trip out there, and your guide, and going to the village, and staying with the village. I mean, it's a package tour, to go out to the Mentawai Islands. But I am interested to see what he comes up with now that he has his drone. He doesn't have his GoPro mount, but we'll see what he shoots when he's in Padang and taking the boat out to the islands. Should be interesting. In my last behind the scenes video, I talked at length about Chat GPT, and AI. And since then, yeah, I'm still quite interested in this whole field now. And I've even started using it a lot. In particular, I mentioned in my previous video that I can see Chat GPT or some other AI. Apparently, Google has their own. I knew about that. I'd listened to some interviews, some podcast interviews with the head of Google, creating the Google version of Chat GPT. But I didn't know the name of it, and I don't have any experience with it, but I guess it's called Bard, Google Bard. And the idea is that Google Bard or Chat GPT, these can eventually replace Google search. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit. I gave some examples in my last video, and I did it again recently because it was a topic I was interested in, and I wanted to test it because I was watching a movie called Flags of Our Fathers, which is all about Iwo Jima. I was talking about Iwo Jima and the fight between the Americans and the Japanese on Iwo Jima. And there's a movie called Flags of Our Fathers, which focuses on the flag raising on Iwo Jima. And the armed forces invading Iwo Jima were the American Marines. It was the Marines who landed on Iwo Jima. And I had this random thought. It's like, oh, Marines. What exactly is the difference between a Marine and an American soldier, like an Army soldier? What's the difference between Marines and soldiers? And normally I would go on to Google search and I would type in my question, like, what is the difference between Marines and US soldiers? And then you get a list of articles, and then you look through the articles, and then you read the titles of every article, and then you have to click on the article, open it up, and then it may or may not give you the information you're looking for. And that's the normal way of doing it. But this time I thought, well, let's do ChatGPT instead. I have the tab open on my laptop, and I went to ChatGPT and I said, you know, I told GPT to do something. And I don't know about the proper way you're supposed to interact with GPT, but I think the idea is that you tell it to do something. So what I said was, write a short article about the differences between US Marines and US soldiers in the Army. A second and a half later, boom, I get an article that told me everything I wanted to know. It was well written, had a nice kind of flowery introduction, but then it broke it down by category, step by step by step, exactly what the Marines were, and contrasting them with actual soldiers from the US Army. You know, gave me a perfect article. So in Google search, you type in your query, you get a list of articles, and then you have to rummage through it and find the article that gives you the information you want. With ChatGPT, it gave me an article with all the information I wanted. I told it, write me an article about this topic, and it scanned all the information on the internet and wrote a brand new article. So it was actually faster, much faster, and more efficient than using Google search. And I find that really interesting. And I think it's going to be the wave of the future. I think it really is. I use it all the time now to get information. Instead of going to Google search, I go to ChatGPT. And yeah, it's really, really interesting. But I did end up with a couple of questions, because when you go to an article written by a human being, you have to assume that that article has been vetted. It has been fact-checked by the editors, and they have sources, right? They got their information from sources, and they will often say where the information came from. So for example, Wikipedia, which is another source for information on the internet, Wikipedia is very strict about citing sources. Like, everything that a Wikipedia article says has to be backed up by a source, and it will be linked to the source, and you can go to that article and see where the information came from. But with ChatGPT, that isn't a thing. I said, tell me about Marines and soldiers, and it wrote me an article, and it got all that information from all over the internet, but it doesn't tell you where the information came from, right? So you have to keep that in mind. And I was thinking about copyright. Like, what if I had a website and I wanted to write an article about Marines, US Marines? I could tell ChatGPT, write me an article. There it is. But do I have the right to use that now? Who owns the copyright? Can I take that article as written by ChatGPT, copy and paste it into my own website and give it a title, you know, the differences between American Marines and American soldiers, and post it to my website and earn money from it? Can I put advertisements on my website? Like, who has the copyright now? Because ChatGPT wrote it, but it got its information from other sources, and then can I just take it and put it in my website? I have no idea what the rules are about that. I do like ChatGPT. I like using it, but at the same time, you do have to wonder about what it's telling you. you have to be very careful about the information it gives you. There's no guarantee that any of it is true, right? Wikipedia, at least, has sources for where it gets its information from, but you don't get that from ChatGPT. And I suppose for today's behind the scenes, I will end the video with a pop culture roundup. I already mentioned one pop culture item, the movie Flags of Our Fathers, because in a previous video I was talking about the battle for Iwo Jima, and I talked a lot about the flag raising because I watched all these documentaries on YouTube about Iwo Jima, and there's a very famous photograph of the Marines raising an American flag during the battles of Iwo Jima, and that became a very well-known photograph. But when you dig into the stories, you find out that it's not quite as straightforward as you might think. And Flags of Our Fathers, the entire movie is about that. And as I was watching the movie, I remembered I'd watched it before. So I was already aware of the backstory of the flag raising, but somehow I'd forgotten about it. So when I watched the YouTube video, it felt like new information, but I had come across this information before. And the idea, basically, in the movie, they portray the whole story where a small group of Marines went up to the top of this mountain on Iwo Jima. They fought the Japanese, they took the mountain, and they got to the top and they raised a flag, a small American flag, and then that it was actually captured in a photograph as well. I think there's even video of that moment, and that was the flag raising. But then there was a politician there who wanted to take that flag back to Washington. And the Marines didn't want to give it to him. So what they decided to do was sort of trick him, and they had a second flag raising. So they told the Marines to take down the small flag, the original one, and then take this much bigger one and then raise it up on a flagpole. So there was a second flag raising, and that flag, I guess, was given to the politician. But then there was a photo taken of that second flag raising as well, and it was that flag raising, that photo, that became the famous one. The photo of the first flag raising, the one that probably meant more to the Marines, that photo never became well known. You can see it on Wikipedia, it's there as well, but it never hit the press. The photo of the second one made it out into the world first, and I guess it's a more dramatic looking photo anyway, and it got on the front pages of every newspaper in the United States and was a symbol of, wow, we are winning the war in the Pacific. It was like a major victory for the Marines, for the Americans, and everybody was celebrating because it looked like they were now winning against the Japanese. So that's what Flags of Our Fathers is all about. And it takes it one step further because of the two flag raisings and the two photographs. There was confusion about who is even in the photographs, because you can't see most of their faces, you just see the backs of their heads. And because there were two flag raisings, two photographs, nobody was quite, there was a mix-up about who was in the photos. And then three of them they thought were, the survivors, and these three Marines were shipped back to the United States to go on a tour because they needed to raise money for the war effort. So the American government was selling war bonds in order to raise money to fund the war. And then these three flag raisers went on a big tour of the entire United States, giving, speeches and ceremonies, filling entire stadiums, for a sporting event. And they would recreate the raising of the flag, and then they would speak into the microphone and encourage everyone in the audience to buy war bonds. But then it turns out that one of the main guys who was going on this big tour, he wasn't even in the photograph. It wasn't him at all. It was somebody else. There are actually two people that were listed as being in the photograph, they weren't even there. It was two other Marines who were there, and then they were both killed in action later on, you know, so there was some drama surrounding that. And then Flags of Our Fathers, the movie, directed by Clint Eastwood and produced by Spielberg and Clint Eastwood. And yeah, it tells that whole story. But it turns out, I knew this as well, I've watched both of these movies, I just forgot about it. It's actually a two-parter. So there's Flags of Our Fathers, which is the battle for Iwo Jima from the American point of view. And there's a second movie, also done by Clint Eastwood and Spielberg, called Letters from Iwo Jima. And that is from the Japanese perspective of the battle for Iwo Jima. And I'm going to try and find a copy of it, and then I'm going to watch that movie at some point over the next few days and get the Japanese perspective. As I said, I've already watched it, but that was years ago, and I want to watch it again just because the topic is on my mind. And I have gone back to rewatch a show called Shrinking. Yeah, it's a sitcom. Yeah. Dramedy, maybe, because it is kind of a drama, but a comedy. So it's either you can call it a sitcom or a dramedy, perhaps. And when I first watched it, I really enjoyed it. Good writing. I think it's a very popular show. It won all kinds of awards. The writing and it's got very snappy dialogue. And it reminds me of shows like The West Wing or Veep. It has this kind of snappy writing where everyone in a conversation always seems to have an amazing comeback or a quip or a funny thing to say. It's just very, very good writing. And it's probably not how people, when you're watching the show, it feels like, oh, this is how people really talk. And yet in real life, I don't think any of us are that clever in our conversation. We wish we could be that smart and that quick with a comeback. But anyway, Shrinking is a lot of fun to watch because you've got a group of therapists, 3 of them. Harrison Ford is in it, Jason Segel, and then an actress plays the 3rd therapist. I don't remember, I don't know her name. And then you have their family members, like a daughter and a wife and a husband and the neighbors and best friends. And so, yeah, the dialogue is fast and fresh and interesting and funny. And the whole show moves along very quickly, but it does have a very serious side to it as well. Not giving anything away, because this is the central drama of the show, is that Jason Segel, his character, the therapist, his wife died suddenly in a car crash. And his whole life kind of fell apart because of that. And he's dealing emotionally with the aftermath of the death of his wife. And then that, bleeds into his relationship with his daughter, with his work as a therapist, with his relationship with his neighbors and his friends. And that's essentially what the show is about. And that can get quite dark at times. And to be honest, I was impressed with some of the direction that the show took, where it went a bit darker than I expected and was much more honest about how human beings are than I expected. So instead of just following a standard sitcom line and making things easy, there was a couple of points in the show where I went, whoa, that's interesting. Like, I was not expecting that sudden turn into some very realistic ideas and realistic themes. So I enjoyed the show from that point of view as well. However, the first time I watched it, I had so many things I was annoyed about, because there were a lot of things in the show that I found unrealistic and illogical. And that can really throw me out of a show. Kind of bothered me. There's, I won't go into all the details. I remember writing to a friend of mine about this, and I think my essay on Shrinking probably extended to like 15 pages, like a 15-page breakdown of all the things in the show that I thought were unrealistic and should be improved. But I remember enjoying the comedy and the dialogue and the characters so much that I decided to give the show a second chance. So now I'm watching it a second time, and now I find that I'm watching it a second time, all of my problems with logic or the lack of logic, I can set them aside. And I'm enjoying the show better the second time around because I'm not so focused on all the problems in the show. I've already dealt with them. You know, I wrote my 15-page essay about it. I've got it out of my system, and now I can just enjoy the show for the good things rather than focusing on the things that I found negative about the show. So anyway, that's Shrinking. Yeah, I'm enjoying it again. Kind of a fun, lighthearted show, but with some very realistic overtones at the same time that seem to come out of nowhere, and I kind of appreciate that. Yeah. So I think that is the end of all my thoughts for this morning, and I will wind my behind-the-scenes video up. I'll end it there with a pop culture roundup. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.